They were the sound of a generation. Deep grooves, real harmonies, music that felt like it was written just for you. In the 70s, these R&B acts weren't just charting, they were changing lives. Sunday mornings, late nights, first loves. Their music was the soundtrack to all of it. Then the record stopped.
I'll be there whenever you need me.
The tours dried up, the radio moved on, and the world forgot their name. Didn't fade. They were pushed. Label deals gone wrong. Royalties that never came. Sounds that got buried before they ever had a chance to breathe. You think you know 70s R&B. You know the surface. This is what's underneath. 10 acts, 10 real stories, and music so good it still hurts that most people missed it. This is where the truth finally gets told. Number 10. The Stylistics' Betcha by Golly. Wow.
There's a spark of magic in your eye.
Close your eyes for a second. You're in your living room. The lights are low. Someone you care about is sitting close. And this song comes on. Just like that, nothing else in the world matters. That's what this record does. That's what it's always done. The Stylistics came out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 5 young men with a sound so smooth it felt almost unreal. Russell Tompkins Jr. On lead vocals, that falsetto, that impossible, heartbreaking falsetto, was something you had to hear to believe.
Each time you smile, never thought.
Betcha by Golly Wow was produced by Tom Bell and Linda Creed on Avco Records in 1972. Tom Bell was one of the chief architects of Philadelphia soul, that lush, string-drenched, orchestrated R&B sound that defined an era.
That fairy tales came true.
The song is a love declaration, pure and simple. No games. No pretending. Just a man telling a woman she is everything. It hit number 2 on the Billboard R&B chart and crossed over into the pop top 10. Radio loved it. Audiences loved it. It became one of the defining romantic songs of its decade.
But they come true when I'm near.
Here's what I find beautiful about this record. Linda Creed, who co-wrote this song, was only in her early 20s when she wrote it. She went on to write some of the most emotionally powerful songs of the 70s, including The Greatest Love of All. But this was one of her first statements to the world, and she said it perfectly. So why are the Stylistics not in every conversation about the greatest groups in R&B history? Partly because Philadelphia soul as a genre got overshadowed by the disco wave that followed it. When the mid-70s arrived and the dance floor took over, the slow, romantic, orchestrated soul ballad became less fashionable to the industry, even though the people never stopped loving it. The group also went through lineup and label changes that disrupted their momentum. And without consistent major label support in their later years, their name faded from the front of the conversation. But their music never left the people who found it. You don't forget a song that held you together when you needed it most. Number 9. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes' Wake Up Everybody.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed.
This one hits different. It always has. Because this song wasn't just about love or heartbreak. This song was about the world. And everything it said in 1975, everything still applies today. That's not nostalgia. That's just the truth.
No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead.
Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes were from Philadelphia. And yes, Teddy Pendergrass was the voice you heard. Deep, authoritative, warm, and urgent all at once. Wake Up Everybody was produced by Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff on Philadelphia International Records in 1975.
The world has changed so very much from what it used to be.
Gamble and Huff were the founders of Philadelphia soul. They built a sound and a label that changed the direction of Black American music. The song calls out to teachers, preachers, doctors, and everyday people.
There's so much hatred, war and poverty.
It says, "The world is broken, and we all have a responsibility to fix it." That message, delivered over that rolling groove and those gospel-drenched harmonies, lands like a hand on your shoulder. It reached #1 on the Billboard R&B chart. It crossed over to the Pop Top 12. It was a statement record, the kind of song that a generation adopted as its own. Here's the thing about Teddy Pendergrass that gets overlooked in this conversation. He was not yet a solo star when this song came out. He was the voice of a group. Harold Melvin was the organizer, the businessman, the one who built the ensemble. Teddy was the fire inside it.
Just time to teach a new way. They're the ones who...
The tension between those two realities, the man whose name was on the group and the man whose voice was carrying it, eventually led to a split. And that split meant that neither the group nor the solo Teddy ever quite reached the combined height of what they had built together.
Coming up, what you have to say. They're the ones who's...
After Teddy left, Harold Melvin continued with new vocalists. The records were good, but the chemistry that had made those early 70s records immortal was gone. And the music industry moved on without pausing to properly document what had been lost.
Coming up, and the world is in their hands when you teach the children.
Wake Up Everybody deserves to be in every conversation about great protest soul, right next to Marvin, right next to Curtis. It earned that place.
Teach them the very best you can.
If you're enjoying this journey so far, go ahead and smash that like button. It helps more people find real music history like this.
If this song just hit you in that quiet place, don't let this moment be a one-time thing. Subscribe to Demo. We're building a home for real R&B and soul. The kind that heals, the kind that tells the truth. Hit subscribe and come back whenever you need a song that understands you.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number 8. The Dramatics' What You See Is What You Get.
Some people are made of plastic.
I want you to feel this one. Really feel it. Because when this record dropped in 1971, it didn't just play. It moved people physically. You could not stand still. And that combination of energy and emotion is one of the hardest things in music to achieve. The Dramatics were from Detroit, Michigan. Ron Banks leading that vocal group with a mix of grit and grace that felt completely authentic. What You See Is What You Get was produced by Don Davis on Volt Records, a subsidiary of Stax in 1971. The song is a declaration of honesty. No pretending, no masks. What you see is the real thing. That message, wrapped in that horn-driven, churning soul arrangement, was irresistible.
Have hearts of stone.
It went to number 3 on the Billboard R&B chart and crossed over to the Pop Top 10. It became one of the defining Detroit soul records of the early 70s.
Something so up to no good.
Here's a detail that I love. The Dramatics had been recording for years before this record broke through. They had been grinding small labels, regional recognition, paying their dues. What You See Is What You Get was the moment the door finally opened. And when it did, they walked through it with everything they had. The tragedy is what happened after. Stax Records. The label that housed Volt collapsed in 1975 in one of the most dramatic business failures in music industry history. When Stax went down, it took a lot of its artists' momentum with it. Catalog rights got tangled, reissues were complicated. Artists who had been building real careers suddenly found themselves without the infrastructure they needed to keep growing. The Dramatics kept recording and had more R&B hits throughout the 70s, but the full mainstream recognition that what you see is what you get hinted at never fully materialized. Detroit gave the world so much soul. This record is proof of that. Number 7. The Hues Corporation, Rock the Boat.
So I'd like to know where you got the notion.
Now, before anything else, I need you to understand something. This song is one of the most important records in the history of popular music. Not just R&B, popular music.
Said I'd like to know where you got the notion.
Because what happened after this record dropped changed everything about where the culture was heading. And most people have no idea.
Rock the boat, don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat, don't tip the boat over. Rock the
The Hues Corporation were a mixed-race trio from Los Angeles: Hubert Ann Kelly, Fleming Williams, and H. Ann Kelly. Rock the Boat was produced by Wally Holmes on RCA Records in 1974.
don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat.
The song is a love metaphor, tender, warm, built on a groove that is irresistible from the first note. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was one of the first songs widely acknowledged as a catalyst for the disco era.
Ever since our boy.
What this record proved was that a groove-centered, dance-friendly R&B crossover could reach the absolute top of the American mainstream chart.
Of love began. Your touches thrilled me like the rush.
Here's what the history books often miss. Rock the Boat and Dancing Machine by the Jackson 5 came out around the same time, and together they signaled to the music industry that the dance floor was the future. Record labels looked at the numbers and made decisions.
The wind and your arms have held me safe from a rolling sea.
Studio budgets shifted. The lush, orchestrated soul ballad began to get less investment. The four-on-the-floor groove got more. The Hues Corporation, in a very real sense, helped trigger a transformation they never personally benefited from.
There's always been a quiet place to harbor.
After Rock the Boat, the follow-up records didn't match the commercial heights. The trio went through lineup changes. RCA's attention moved toward the next big thing.
You and me. Our love is like a ship.
And one of the groups that helped launch the disco era got left behind by it. That is one of the great ironies of music history. Number 6. The Undisputed Truth, Smiling Faces, Sometimes.
Friend, smiling faces, show no.
This is the one that stays with you, long after the song ends, long after the record is back on the shelf. Because this song is not just music, it's a warning, and some warnings never stop being relevant.
Traces of the evil that lurks within.
The Undisputed Truth were a Motown group assembled by Norman Whitfield, one of the most visionary producers in the history of Black American music.
Smiling faces, smiling faces.
Smiling Faces Sometimes was released on Gordy Records, a Motown imprint in 1971. Norman Whitfield produced it. Barrett Strong co-wrote it. The song is a message about deception, about people who smile to your face while meaning you harm.
Sometimes they don't tell the truth.
It is sharp, politically aware, and wrapped in one of the most cinematic psychedelic soul arrangements ever recorded.
Smiling faces, tell lies.
It reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the R&B chart. It is one of the most sampled songs in hip-hop history. It has appeared in films and television for decades.
And I got proof. Oh, Lord, yeah.
Its DNA runs through rap, neo, soul, and conscious R&B in ways that most people never trace back to the source. Here's the fun fact. The Temptations actually recorded an earlier version of this song. Norman Whitfield wrote and produced for both groups. But there are different versions of the story about why Smiling Faces sometimes ultimately became the Undisputed Truth's record rather than the Temptations. Some people say it was a strategic decision. Others say it came down to timing and scheduling in the studio. What we know is that the Undisputed Truth delivered it with a raw urgency that made it theirs completely. Now, I mentioned earlier that we had a controversy to unpack, and this is the entry where we need to stop and have a real conversation. Because the story of the Undisputed Truth and Norman Whitfield is also a story about power, about who owns the name, about who controls the music. Some people say that the group had limited creative control over their output, that Norman Whitfield was the driving force, the visionary, and that the members of the group were largely there to execute his ideas. Others say that the collaboration was more equal than that narrative suggests. There are different versions of the story, depending on who you ask and when. What we do know is that when Norman Whitfield left Motown in 1975 to start his own Whitfield Records, he took the Undisputed Truth concept with him. The group continued to record under the Whitfield label with some lineup changes. But the Motown machine, the distribution muscle, the promotional infrastructure, all of that was gone. And without it, the records that followed never reached the audiences they might have otherwise found. This is about label power, about how a producer's vision and an artist's voice can become so intertwined that when the relationship ends, both sides are diminished. The Undisputed Truth's name, their sound, their identity, it was built inside a structure that they didn't fully control. And that's why this song isn't just music, it's history. It's a document of how the industry worked, how it elevated certain voices and then decided when they'd had enough. Smiling Faces sometimes is still one of the most honest records ever made. The industry it was warning you about was the same one it was trapped inside. We're halfway through this countdown. Which of these songs has hit you the hardest so far? Drop it in the comments right now. I genuinely want to know. Number 5. The main ingredient, Everybody Plays the Fool.
Everybody plays the fool sometimes.
I'm going to be straight with you about this one. This song should be a standard. Not just an R&B standard, a standard. The kind of song that every generation knows the way they know the sky is blue.
There's no exception to the rule. Listen.
And the fact that most people under 40 have never heard of the main ingredient tells you everything about how unjust music history can be.
Baby, it may be factual, may be cruel.
The main ingredient were from Harlem, New York. Cuba Gooding, senior father of the actor on lead vocals. Everybody Plays the Fool was produced by Bert DeCoteau on RCA Records in 1972.
I ain't lying. Everybody plays the fool.
The lyrics are wise. Gently, honestly wise. They tell you that love will make a fool of you. Not cruelly, not bitterly, just truthfully. Everybody goes through it. Everybody.
Falling in love is such a...
That universal honesty is what makes this song so enduring. It reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and hit the top of the R&B chart. It was one of the biggest crossover records of 1972.
An easy thing to do, and there's no guarantee.
And yet, here's what stopped me in my tracks when I was researching this entry. Aaron Neville covered this song in 1991 and had a massive hit with it.
That the one you love is gonna love you.
Millions of people know Aaron Neville's version. Far fewer people know the original. The song outlived the artists who made it famous first. The main ingredient kept recording through the 70s with consistent R&B chart success. But Cuba Gooding Sr. left the group in 1974, and without his voice as the anchor, the commercial momentum shifted. Leadership changes, label transitions, and the fragmented music landscape of the late 70s all played their part. Cuba Gooding Sr. deserved to be a household name. This song deserved to be in every conversation about the greatest records of its era. That it isn't is a quiet injustice.
It clouds your mind with emotion.
This music held people together. That's worth something. That's worth everything. Number 4. Blue Magic Sideshow. They gave us a perfect record. I don't think they ever got a proper thank you for it. Number 3. The Chi-Lites, Have You Seen Her?
1 month ago today, I was happy as a lark.
This is the one that made grown people cry without being ashamed of it. Because there is something in this song that reaches a part of you that you usually keep locked away. And once it finds that place, that's it. You're gone.
But now, I go for walks.
The Chi-Lites were from Chicago, Illinois. Eugene Record as the creative force singer, songwriter, producer, and a vocal group around him that understood how to make space for feeling.
To the movies, maybe to the park. I have a seat on the...
Have You Seen Her was released on Brunswick Records in 1971 and produced by Eugene Record and Barbara Acklin. The song is about a man walking through the city after a breakup, seeing everything that reminds him of the woman he lost, a girl with similar hair.
Same old bench to watch the children play.
A laugh that sounds the same, the way the light falls. Grief dressed up as observation. It hit number 1 on the R&B chart and reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. It became one of the defining heartbreak records of its era.
You know, tomorrow is their future. But for me...
MC Hammer sampled it in 1990 for Have You Seen Her? His version introduced the Chi-Lites to a brand new generation. But even then, many people knew the sample without knowing the source.
Just another day. They all gather around me.
Here's what I find remarkable about Eugene Record. He wrote, arranged, and produced much of what the Chi-Lites recorded. He was operating at the level of the most celebrated songwriter-producers of his era.
They seem to know my name. We laugh.
And yet his name is rarely said in the same breath as Gamble and Huff, or Tom Bell, or Norman Whitfield. That gap in recognition is a genuine blind spot in how we talk about this music.
Tell a few jokes, but it still doesn't ease my pain.
Brunswick Records had its own internal complications throughout the early and mid-70s, ownership disputes, distribution inconsistencies, and financial pressures that affected how aggressively their artists were promoted.
I know I can't hide from a memory, though day after...
The Chi-Lites had the talent for a much longer run in the mainstream spotlight. The infrastructure around them didn't always match that talent. Eugene Record passed away in 2005. He left behind a body of work that deserves far more reverence than it currently receives. Number 2. The Moments, Love on a Two-Way Street. I talked about The Moments earlier in a different context, but this record demands its own full moment, because Love on a Two-Way Street is one of the most quietly perfect soul records ever made. And if you haven't heard it in a while, or if you've never heard it at all, I need you to find it the second this video ends. The Moments were from Hackensack, New Jersey. Al Goodman, Harry Ray, and William Brown, 3 voices that fit together like they were built for each other. Love on a Two-Way Street was produced by Sylvia Robinson on All Platinum Records in 1970, released in 1970 and charting in 1970 and into 1971. Yes, that's Sylvia Robinson. Singer, songwriter, producer, and one of the most important figures in the history of Black American music, who would later go on to produce Rapper's Delight and essentially help launch commercial hip-hop. Before all of that, she was building something real in New Jersey soul. The song is about reciprocity in love, giving and receiving equally. It's not angry, it's not desperate, it's just honest. And that honesty, wrapped in a production that is warm and unhurried and deeply soulful, is what has kept this record alive in the hearts of people who found it. It hit the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 and reached number 1 on the R&B chart. Real crossover success on a small independent label, which was extraordinarily difficult to achieve. All Platinum Records, for all of Sylvia Robinson's brilliance, was an independent operation. It didn't have the distribution muscle of Motown or Philadelphia International. Records could be massive in certain regions and virtually unavailable in others. Artists could have a number 1 R&B hit and still struggle to find their record in half the country's shops. That structural inequality between major label artists and independent label artists shaped who got remembered and who got left behind. The Moments became Ray, Goodman, and Brown in the late 70s and had further success. But their full story as The Moments, this particular sound, this particular warmth remains known only to those who deliberately go looking for it.
If this song just hits you in that quiet place, don't let this moment be a one-time thing. Subscribe to Demo. We're building a home for real R&B and soul, the kind that heals, the kind that tells the truth. Hit subscribe and come back whenever you need a song that understands you.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number 1. The Spinners, I'll Be Around. I saved this one for last. Not because it's the most obscure, not because it has the most dramatic story, but because when you listen to this song, really listen, you understand everything this countdown has been about. You understand what R&B at its best is capable of. And you feel the full weight of what it means when music this good gets forgotten by the mainstream conversation.
There's nowhere to go.
The Spinners were from Detroit. They had been recording since the early 60s, years of Motown recordings that went largely nowhere. By 1972, they had moved to Atlantic Records and into the orbit of producer Tom Bell, the same Tom Bell who was building Philadelphia soul.
You made your choice.
And something remarkable happened when that Detroit group energy met that Philadelphia orchestration genius. I'll Be Around was produced by Tom Bell on Atlantic Records in 1972.
It's up to me to bow out.
The song is a gentle, dignified farewell, a man telling a woman that he'll be there if she changes her mind. No anger, no bitterness, just grace.
Gracefully, though you hold.
Philippe Wynne on lead vocals, and if you have never heard Philippe Wynne, this is your introduction to one of the most gifted vocalists in R&B history. The way he moves through that melody, the control, the feeling, it is extraordinary.
But baby, whenever you call.
It hit number 1 on the R&B chart. It crossed over to the Pop Top 5. It became one of the signature records of Tom Bell's entire career and one of the defining songs of Philadelphia soul, even though the Spinners were from Detroit.
I'll be there whenever you want me.
Here's what I want you to sit with. The Spinners spent almost a decade at Motown without a single major pop hit. Almost 10 years. Most groups would have given up. They didn't. They moved labels, connected with a new producer, and found a sound that finally reflected everything they were capable of.
I'll be there whenever you need me.
I'll Be Around was the result of a decade of perseverance, of refusing to accept that the door was closed,
I'll be around.
That's not just a music story, that's a life lesson. The Spinners had multiple hits through the 70s and remain one of the most successful vocal groups of the era, and yet even their name has faded from casual pop culture conversation. The generation that grew up with this music is aging. The streaming algorithms don't always know where to point young listeners, and so these records drift present but not prominent, available but not celebrated. That should change.
What to say? Now I found out.
I'll Be Around is not a relic, it is a masterpiece. It belongs in the same sentence as every great song you've ever loved. And if nobody told you that before today, now you know.